We're on the lookout for sponsors to join us on our incredible journey with Inspired Change with Gunter. If your organisation cares deeply about meaningful conversations around masculinity, self-development and mental health, we'd love to partner with you. Our podcast has a wonderful, dedicated audience committed to personal growth and positive social change. By sponsoring Inspired Change with Gunter, your brand will connect with listeners who truly value thoughtful discussion and support initiatives that promote real transformation. We're incredibly proud to be ranked number 1 in Australia and number 5 in the USA on FeedSpot's top men's mental health podcasts. For more information on how to become a sponsor, please reach out to Miranda Spiegner Sapon, our showrunner and executive producer. We'd love to explore how we can work together to inspire change. Now, thank you for your continued support, and let's keep inspiring change together.
You're listening to Inspire Change, a broadcast that strives to educate, motivate, and empower men to challenge traditions of masculinity. To guide us through the intricacies and intersections of emotions, relationships, and male identity is renowned psychologist, author, and speaker Gunter Swoboda. This is Inspire Change.
Before I begin the actual podcast, I would like to respectfully acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, who are the traditional custodians of the land on which I work. I would also like to pay my respects to their elders past and present. Welcome everybody to another episode of Inspired Change with Gunter. There's a kind of loneliness that has nothing to do with being alone. You can feel it in a lift with 6 strangers, everyone watching the numbers climb. You can feel it on a packed morning train where every face has turned toward a small bright screen. And you can feel it most sharply in the stairwell of a building where you live and have lived for years, passing a neighbour you've never spoken to. The two of you divided by a single wall and a whole unshared life. In 1990, at the very peak of their fame, INXS took that feeling and made a song of it. They called it The Stairs. Now, it was never a hit. It sold no stadium sing-along. And yet here we are, more than 30 years on, and it's the track from that record a certain kind of listener keeps coming back to. That's the puzzle I want to sit with, and I want it to sit inside you. Why does a song about millions of people living inches apart and never meeting keep finding us? One quiet listener at a time. To hear this song properly, you have to know where the band was when they wrote it. 3 years earlier, they had released Kick, and Kick had turned 6 Australians into one of the largest acts on the planet. Michael Hutchence put the pressure of that moment plainly. They had to follow it, he said, or they would just disappear. So they regrouped, and with the producer Chris Thomas, they built the album X across 1989 and 1990. And they worked both in Sydney and London. It arrived in September 1990, and the singles did the work. Suicide Blonde, Disappear. The chart machinery was just in full gear. And then sitting quietly in the middle of all that commercial force is this. A slow, strange, structurally unusual meditation on not being able to reach the person next to you. Andrew Farris, who wrote the music, has said the song is about people in heavily urbanized places who don't communicate, about how we design our cities and our shared spaces and what that design actually does to human beings. Hutchins, who shaped much of the words, called it one of the most ambitious things he'd written. The lyric pictures tens of millions of lives lived a few inches apart, separated by walls and never touching. Hold on to that irony right here. Here are men who spent their working lives in front of the largest crowds a person could stand before, and the subject they reached for was isolation. It may be that the people best placed to notice loneliness are precisely the ones who have never physically been alone. The record bears this out quite literally. In November 1991 at Wembley Stadium, INXS played The Stairs live in front of 74,000 people. Cop that. The very scale of crowd the song insists we can stand inside and still never reach. So why does it land the way it does? Start with belonging. In 1995, the psychologists Roy Baumeister and Mark Leary gathered the evidence for what they called the need to belong, and argued that our drive to form and keep close relationships is not a preference sitting on top of human nature. It's closer to the base of it, near hunger and thirst in the way it organises what we feel and do. When that need goes unmet, we suffer for it, in mood, in thought, and in the body itself. Now set that need down in a city. Stanley Milgram, the psychologist better known for his obedience studies, wrote in 1970 about what he called the experience of living in cities. His idea was overload. The urban environment throws more social information at a person than the nervous system can process. So we adapt by filtering, by declining to see, by treating the stranger on the stairs as part of that scenery. Milgram had a fine phrase for one product of this: the familiar stranger. The person you see every morning at the same platform, whose face you would know anywhere, and to whom you have never once spoken. A whole relationship built out of recognition and silence. The Stairs is, in a way, a 4-minute portrait of the familiar stranger. And here is the part I want to be careful and clear about. The loneliness the song names is not a defect. John Cacioppo, who spent his years and his career studying it, described loneliness as a biological signal, closer to hunger or pain than to weakness. It evolved to hurt because the hurt is what pulls us back toward other people. And for most of human history, rejoining the group was survival itself. So the ache in this song is not a flaw in the listener. It is the alarm doing exactly what it was built to do. So that is the psychological work the song performs. In the framework I use in this project, it is an active recognition. It gives language to something a great many people carry around without any words for it. And there is real relief in that. When a song tells the truth about your inner state, the isolation loosens a little, because at the very least, you are no longer the only one on the stairs. Listen to how the recording is built, because the form carries the meaning. The song opens with a long stretch of music and no voice at all. And the full band does not gather until well over a minute into it. You are made to wait in the wordless space before contact arrives. The shape of the song enacts the very thing it is about. Now set that song back in its moment and something uncanny happens. 1990 is a world of apartment towers and lift lobbies, of an architecture that moves bodies past each other efficiently and gives them nowhere to actually meet. The sociologist Eric Klinenberg called the physical places that either produce contact or prevented our social infrastructure. A library, a stoop, a public square is social infrastructure that invites meeting. A stairwell is too close to its opposite. It is built for transit and not company. Farris was pointing at exactly this when he spoke about urban design and human contact. But then listen to the song now, and it is and has quietly changed its meaning without changing a single word. It is written before the internet as we live in it, before the phone in every pocket, and yet it reads today like a description of the feed. Millions of us, inches apart, joined by walls of glass, scrolling past one another, never meeting. The concrete city became the digital one. The technology was replaced completely, and the loneliness kept its exact shape. There is a test we hold every song to on this podcast and in this project. If the song vanished, would the insight still stand? With the stairs, it plainly does. The difficulty of being physically close to other people and emotionally unreached by them is not a 1990 problem. It has only deepened. The song endures because it tells the truth about proximity and because it has the discipline not to tidy that truth into comfort. It offers no cure. It simply makes certain that you know the feeling is real and shared, which, as any therapist will tell you, is where change actually begins. So before I close, I want to leave 3 questions with you. First, close to the song. It keeps returning to people divided by a wall rather than by distance. Why might nearness without contact feel harder to bear than plain absence? Second, closer to you. Who are the familiar strangers in your own days, the faces you know well and have never spoken to? And what do you imagine would shift in them or in you if you did? Third, wider than any of us. If our cities and our devices are built in ways that hold us inches apart, what would a space actually designed for meeting look like? And who would have to build it? Now, here's a small experiment for the week. Choose a single familiar stranger and make one modest act of contact. A good morning, a door held open, and a real look. Before you do it, notice what rises in you, the hesitation, the small fear, and treat that as information about how far we have each other and how far we've drifted from each other. One last thing, talk to somebody who you trust. Ask them when in their life they felt most alone in a crowd, and then tell them your own answer. Trade the stories. Don't reach for a solution. The trading is the point. So this is the point where I'm going to leave you. On the stairs, a wall away from a life you will never know, deciding for once to knock.
You know, on this show, we talk a lot about living with purpose, slowing down, paying attention, and being intentional about the choices we make every day. Because when we simplify the noise around us, we can better hear what really matters. Empathy, connection, and showing up as the best version of ourselves. That's why I'm genuinely pleased to welcome our newest sponsor, Distill Union. Their philosophy aligns beautifully with what we do here. Distill Union creates slick, thoughtfully designed essentials, wallets, key organizers, phone cases, all built with a less is more approach. Their Wally wallets, Ferris key organizers, these are everyday tools that make life easier, cleaner, and calmer. In that simplicity, there's space for clarity, there's space for change. As a thank you to our Inspire Change community, they're offering 20% off any product with the promo code Inspire Change. Have a look, try them out, and see how simplifying your day can open the door to something deeper. Visit distilledunion.com and enjoy 20% off any product with the promo code Inspire Change. That's distilledunion.com with promo code Inspire Change to check out.
Hello to all our listeners. We thank you for tuning in and supporting positive social change, which makes you a part of Gunter's efforts in transforming not only men's lives, but lives in general. And we are grateful that you have joined us. We want to extend a huge thank you to our listeners in Fairborn, Elyria, Columbus, Grafton, Northfield, Lorain, Ashland, and Cincinnati for keeping Ohio securely at the number 2 spot on the top 10 USA listeners list. And to our global listeners, we extend our gratitude to the 2 countries reaching our top 20 list for the very first time ever. First, our listeners in Karachi for bringing Pakistan to number 20, and also to our listeners in Jos Plateau State for bringing Nigeria to number 18. Congratulations! You made it to the top listeners list. I, Devonna Prinzi, the co-executive producer, and our showrunner, Miranda Spigner-Sapone, sincerely thank you and ask that you please take the time to like, follow, subscribe, and share as your efforts make a difference to everyone here at Inspire Change with Gunter. If these stories resonate with you and you would like to engage more with Gunter and the Inspire Change team, please consider joining our Patreon community, where our members find bonus content and early access to video episodes. Membership awaits at patreon.com/Inspire Change. That's patreon.com/INSPIRECHANGE. As always, thank you to each and every one of our listeners. And most importantly, please keep inspiring positive social change.
Love to hear from you. And if you're interested, please check out my work on www.guntersvoboda.com or www.goodmengreat.com.
Thank you for listening to Inspire Change, a broadcast that strives to educate, motivate, and empower men to challenge traditions of masculinity. For more information on the Making Good Men Great movement, or for individual or group coaching sessions with Gunter, visit goodmengreat.com.